In this video, we are going to continue with our discussion about English grammar questions and typical tricks and traps that set in the SAT and ACT. We are on to logical comparisons now. So here are a few examples. The idea behind logical comparisons is you must compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So in this example, it says your locker is always neater than me. So the problem with this is you're comparing a locker with the person me. What you should say is your locker is always neater than mine, or your locker is always neater than my locker. So fix the correct objects before you compare them. The president of the steel company is more qualified than that of the computer company. You can't say that the president of the steel company is being compared with the whole computer company. So you should say the president of the steel company is more qualified than the president of the computer company. My sister is better than everybody at solving differential equations. The problem here is it's not obvious that it's a mistake. The mistake comes from using the word everybody only, because everybody includes my sister. So if I want to fix it, I should say my sister is better than everybody else. That would leave the set without my sister, and now this comparison makes some sense. Next one we are going to talk about is coordination and subordination. Parts of sentences must coordinate and subordinate. In other words, the parts of sentences must be joined by logically connecting the words. So here's an example. The newspaper delivery didn't come and we watched television news. There's a wrong coordinator that is used here. When you say and, you're listing two things of the similar type. But here the intent of the sentence was basically to make a cause-effect relationship between the two parts. So you say the newspaper delivery didn't come, so we watched television news. Next example, she finished her homework, she's going to play video games. This is what is called a comma splice fault, where you're normally supposed to use coordinate conjunctions, but you end up using just a comma in place of the coordinate conjunction. And that way it becomes what is called a run-on sentence, or there are two kinds of run-on sentences. One is called fused sentence and the other is called comma splice fault. If you use a comma like this is called a comma splice fault. But if you remove the comma altogether and just say she finished her homework, she's going to play video games, just a space between them, then it's a fused sentence, because there are two parts of two different sentences which are fused together. There are many ways to fix this run-on sentences. So run-on sentences basically comma splice fault or fused sentences. So together they're called run-off or run-on sentences. You could fix them in many different ways. One way to fix them, as they have shown here, is by using a subordinate conjunction such as since in the first part of the sentence. And remember the rule we talked about in the beginning, introduction. We said if we have a subordinating conjunction, then that conjunction plus part of the sentence will make what is called a dependent clause. And this dependent clause must be separated with a comma with the rest of the sentence following, which will then be the independent clause. And together they make a complete sentence. So this is what happened here as well. We put since as a subordinate conjunction, followed by she finished her homework, followed by comma, she's going to play video games. The other way to fix this would be maybe just to replace the comma with a period. That's another way to fix it. And the third way to fix it would be to replace that comma with a semicolon. All of these will work. If you want to keep a comma, make sure you add a subordinating conjunction to the first part so that it becomes a dependent clause, and then putting a comma and then putting an independent clause after that makes perfect sense. Third example, Mary loves to go for bike rides and she loves the wind rushing through her hair. Mary loves to go, the fixed part says, this looks like the and here again is not connected. You're connecting two things which are not apparently connected, but it should be connected, because there's some connection between going for a bike ride and loving the wind rushing through the hair during the ride. So there should be more cause-effect relationships. So the way to do this could be Mary loves to go for bike rides for she loves, or maybe a better way to say that is because she loves the wind rushing through her hair. That would be an even better fix for that. Now on to the next topic, verb use and tense. So remember, with these things, we are always looking for subject-verb agreement. When you do subject-verb agreement, you're trying to match them up in several different areas. One is, of course, the number. Okay. Now in English, there is no gender associated with verbs, so we don't have to worry about gender. But we must make sure that it's person and number. Person meaning first person, second person, third person. So I say, I go, you go, she goes. So the verb changes according to the person we are talking about, or the subject in this case that goes with the verb. And of course, verb, you have to be very careful with the tense. It's not a matter of matching the subject and the verb with its tense. The tense is by itself. The verb should be in the right tense. So when we talk about matching subjects and verbs, we are talking about matching their number, their person, and of course make sure that the verb is in the correct tense. In the same way, we match antecedents with pronouns. The antecedent is basically the noun that the pronoun refers to. So you could say Jack is a good guy because he helps his friends. So Jack is the antecedent of he, which is the pronoun. Jack is the subject of the sentence, and when we refer to Jack again, we say he. So Jack is a good guy because he helps his friends. Now when you talk about matching up antecedents with the pronouns, you have to match them in number, in person, in gender, because pronouns have genders as well, he and she. So we got number, person, gender, and you also have to always worry about the mood of the pronoun. Okay? So in these examples, so they're talking about a verb use and tense. They have a present tense, he is, and then they is third person plural, so you have to go with the plural verb, they are. She is third person singular, so tastes is the verb. We, first person plural, wash. So the verb goes subject verb agreement like that. And then the past tense of the present tense of is was, are is were, tastes, tasted, she tasted. That's the past tense verb form. And we wash, we washed. And when you go for future, you basically go with the will and the present tense to get to the future tense form of the verb. Now, all these 4 examples that you see here, 4 rows, they are all basically simple tenses. Simple past tense, simple present tense, and simple future tense. There are 2 other concepts that you need to be aware of. And those concepts are those of continuous and perfect. So let's take an example of simple present tense. I am eating. Well, let's put it this way. I eat. Okay, that's simple present tense. So we'll call this present. If you want to go to present continuous, that means the action of eating is still continuing. So I'll say I am eating. And present perfect means it started a little bit in the past and has ended just now in the present tense. So I will go and say I have eaten. So that makes it present perfect. Now if we go on the past, I say I ate. That's the simple past tense. Then I will say I was eating. So that is past continuous. And then you can say I had eaten. So that would be an example of past perfect. It also goes, whenever you say had eaten, that becomes a participle. So past perfect is used. So if I draw a timeline like this, and this is say now, okay, this is past tense. Anything that happens in the past of past tense that way is past perfect. So if this is your simple past, whatever happens here is past perfect. So you could say, I woke up at 7 o'clock today morning. So I woke up at this time. That's simple past tense. But if you wanted to talk about something that had happened before that, maybe around this time, the sun had risen. So you say, the sun had risen. That is your participle form. By the time I woke up at 7 o'clock today morning. So something happened before past tense is past perfect. In the same way, you could do future tense exactly like that. So I eat will become I will eat. That's future, simple future. Then if you want to talk about future continuous, you will say I will be eating. So by this time tomorrow in the afternoon, I will be eating, or tomorrow in the evening, I will be eating. So the actions keeps going on. So you got future continuous, and then the future perfect, the participle form will be needed, and I'll say I will have eaten. So this becomes future perfect. Now the deal with future perfect is that if we go back to our number line over here, this is now, this is sometime in future. Say tomorrow 7 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, you'll say by 7 p.m. tomorrow I will have eaten. So my act of eating started sometime before 7 p.m. and it continues and ends at this point. So you'd say by 7 p.m. tomorrow I will have eaten. That's your future perfect tense, and will have eaten, that whole thing becomes future participle in this case. So this is the participle form of the verb.